Welcome to this presentation presented by Free Range Productions and Global Voice Network. This is a roundtable discussion featuring Gail of Gaia from Free Range with Gail of Gaia, Paul Beener from Global Voice Network, and Dean Chambers. Three good friends with a combined total of almost a century of experience researching and uncovering truth. We just get together and chit-chat and chew the fat. And now you're invited. Welcome to the program. Welcome to the think tank. All right. Hello, everybody. Are we here?
Hi, Paul. Hi, Gail.
Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are, to the audience out there. Welcome.
Yes, welcome. Thank you for joining us. And just in case anybody was wondering, we are definitely going to be talking about stuff that is going to have us dropping off of Facebook and YouTube in about 10-15 minutes. So,
Isn't that fun?
yeah, if you have an opportunity, go find the other links. They should be right in the descriptions. Really, Gail, do you have the uncensored platforms in the descriptions for your Facebook and YouTube accounts?
You mean turned off?
No. Do you have the links for them in your description or not?
No, I didn't put them in this description. They'd have to go to www.gailofgaia.com to get those links.
Okay. All right. Well, here we go. So you can either go to globalvoiceradio.net or you can go to gailofgaia.com, and the links are right there. So what are we going to talk about today, among other things, if we kind of sort of talk in code for a few minutes? What's on your mind today, Dean?
Nothing.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Oh, come on, Dean. You just posted a whole bunch of good stuff. You must have something on your mind.
My little Obi-Wan ripped a toenail off. It's bleeding. I just stopped the bleeding with some clay that I had, and I'm a little bit depressed about the whole thing. So, Gail, pick up the conversation. You had suggested you had a few things you wanted to talk about. I think they're pretty mainstream. They're not controversial. Health and diet and that sort of stuff.
Well, I hadn't really prepared that for that type of thing, except I guess I can.
Well,
take
maybe
off
we can
from
wing it.
there. Let's wing it. It's going to be winging it, pretty much. Let's see. I don't know. That could just kind of caught me off guard here, but I was looking at some other things that are related to the Schumann resonance, the EMF, and fourth dimensional type frequencies, and how they're different, and why it's important for people to protect themselves from the frequencies that we're being exposed to from EMF.
Yeah, and we'll cover that in greater detail in a few minutes. But what's the Schumann resonance doing?
I haven't seen it recently. I'd actually have to look it up. The last time I haven't seen it for a while. I wonder if they're blocking it. They could be. They do that sort of thing.
I don't have a clue. Let's see. Well, we do have that 9-minute video that you had sent, and I believe the name that I came up with was the same name that you had come up with. So we'll be talking about that a little bit more later.
Okay. Oh, and I guess what I like this. I just heard this just before you play that because I think people need to see that just to be even more aware. But they could call us spoiler alert specialists.
Oh, there we go. God, I'm loving that.
I thought you might like that. So anyway, so let's do that with this little video, and then we'll pick it up from there and decide
Spoiler
what
alert specialists.
yeah.
So what little video was that? The 9-minute video or what?
Yeah, the 9-minute video for now. I got that little tidbit from Alex Collier to be, totally fair and all that. And but I liked it a lot, and I think we're in the same category.
Okay.
And then I do have a little bit of information on the frequency and the cell phones and stuff like that, but we'll come to that after we show this little video. I think people need to hear this.
All right. So it's
It's on YouTube, so I guess we can keep it on our
Yeah.
uncensored channels.
Okay, well that works. Let's go to okay. I gotta move that over there and all that. So just give me 1 second and I will have it for us.
All right. Just for a little thought that people can think about, that it's been estimated that we touch, tap, or swipe our phones 2,617 times a day.
No, I did not know that.
I got that from some other research that I was doing. I go, whoa, that's pretty amazing. And besides spoiler alert specialists, we could also be called system busters.
Oh, there we go.
I'm just going to get us in all kinds of trouble.
Yeah. All right. Let's.
You got it?
Yep. We're gonna go full screen on this guy. Gonna go full Monty. All right.
When you think about Facebook, you think, centralized repository, and you're absolutely right. When you think about Google and Facebook, now you're talking 2 central authorities. When you talk about Google and Facebook and Apple, now you're talking about 3 centralized authorities. And I know we've got Richard Stallman here, and he's been at this a lot longer than I have. And, we should all be grateful for that kind of work where they're trying to make people understand the risks of having unquestionable authorities that control your operating system, that control your decisions, that control your life. When we have a dynamic where you have great power spread very unequally around a few deputies, and these can be deputy companies, these can be deputy governments, what we ultimately find ourselves in is a world where we're living in the midst of a net. And if we ever walk too far, we run into that kind of grid of you can't do that because I told you so. So I know I've rambled for a while here, and I don't want to go on too far. But if I could just summarize the points that I'm concerned about. The real value of, I think, any kind of Web3 movement is in making decentralization work for the public. And I don't question for a minute that is actually the intention of the people in this room. That's why I agreed to speak here. The thing is, make sure you're doing enough, right? Whenever we start talking about identity and we're like, oh, we can prove identity and do this and that, you don't want to prove identity. Proving identity is a problem. Recording identity is a problem. That's dangerous. What you want to prove is a right of use. What you want to prove is a token for access, right? We need to make sure that everything we do happens encrypted by default as it goes in transit. You guys are way ahead of the game on that. And that's simply just because that's the price for entry to even a nominally private internet. But then we have to disempower ourselves. We have to make sure that we are not replacing the old central authorities with new central authorities. And I know this gets dicey when we get into business models. I know everybody's, out there and doing different things. And I know that is very much the purpose of what you guys are working on is decentralization. But as you get bigger, or as you get smaller and start to become desperate, I want you to remember the danger of temptation to succeed, right? Because we're all human, and we all get hungry, and we all make compromises. I compromised my values for a long number of years, right? I was working at the CIA, I was working at the NSA, and I was happy to do so. I was, in fact, proud to do so. I could defend myself a little bit by saying, well, I didn't know everything that was going on. And when I did, I changed. But the reality was I knew enough that I shouldn't have been okay with it, but I was. And that's because I was doing better than I ever thought I deserved to. We need to make sure that we make a world that is safe. And we need to make sure we do more than that. We need to make sure we have a world that is free for all those people who were born after 1987, right? For people to be able to make a phone call again without people making a note of it. We need people to be able to buy something, you know, a gift for their mother, you know, without there being a record of it. We need people to be able to go to the gas station, you know, and get a sandwich and not have that left somewhere. We need someone to be able to post something truly idiotic on the internet and not have it haunt them for the rest of their life. Because if we can't make mistakes, we can't learn. And if we can't learn, we can't progress. And if we create this world of just an escalator of authorities, right, where we go, yes, the old authorities were bad, we're going to create new authorities and they'll do better, and then eventually we'll realize how bad those were and somebody else will do that. You know, we might survive, but I don't think we're actually fulfilling the promise of what we can really be. Fundamentally, when we think about all of these conversations, you know, the governments like to say, oh, security and privacy, you know, they're different things. They're actually the same. Security is provided by privacy. When everything is known about you, you are vulnerable. Your decisions can be anticipated, and you can be acted against. If the government wants to grant itself security by denying all of us privacy, that should not be reassuring. That should be concerning. And we need to think about why privacy matters, like why this push for decentralization matters. You guys know, and you have people who will make the arguments better than I do, but when I think about this, I think it's really that question of when somebody tells you that's the way things are because I said so, we, humanity, whether we're talking individuals, whether we're talking families, whether we're talking communities, whether we're talking nations, whether we're talking the global tribe, we need the ability to question that. And we need the ability to change that. And the only way that can happen in the face of extraordinary entrenched powers is if we can collaborate and coordinate and do this quietly. If we can talk to people that we trust, if we can sharpen our arguments, if we can find our good ideas and test and then discard our bad ideas, we can create a movement that changes the world, that sort of overturns this old regime, and can hopefully in the future do away with the need for any regime. But how does that happen? That's a long way off, right? And come on, guys, we're talking about flipping bits on the internet. But those bits matter because it's a foundation. When we zoom out, when we talk about the concepts that everybody's discussing here, like the failure of law, the failure of governance, the failure of all these old institutions to guarantee the rights and the freedoms that we all expected, that we all were taught in school exist in free and open societies, what then? What's our next resort? What's our last resort? You are some of the only people in the world that can guarantee some measure of liberty for people in Russia, for people in China, for people in Iran, right? Honestly, this is one of the ideas that's the most dear to me. It's one of the ones that I get a lot of flack from, actually, when I speak in prominent settings on it, because they're like, oh my goodness, you know, some kind of anarchist, whatever. And the funny thing is, I don't think it's about anarchism. I don't think this is a radical statement. I think it's simply order of operations. What are the things that are most essential, most vital to human liberty? What are the things that allow us to be people, right? Not simply to exist, not simply to survive, but to live. If we can't think, right? If we can't speak, if we can't express ourselves, if we can't become the person that we want to be, if we cannot disagree, if we can't have something of our own, even if it's only an idea, then we don't have anything. It doesn't matter, if we have a state, right? The state comes after. It's not the state that grants all of these things to us. It is the state that is supposed to, at best, protect these things for us, to act as a kind of guarantor of them. And when a state becomes contrary to these guarantees, well, I think it's time to reform it. Look, there's going to be a lot of failures, and there's going to be a lot of people who don't do this well. But think about the internet, that if you're anywhere near the age I am now, I guess I'm 36, it's hard to keep track. The early internet was not commercially driven, right? The early internet was goofy, it was crude, it was, BBSs and web forums and mailing lists. And then it moved to this thing where, it's people are figuring out how to put up their own web servers on the new web, right? And then we get the early sort of granted access from these guys who are trying to become the new web giants. You remember like GeoCities, you remember like Angel Fire. These were still big silos. They didn't have the kind of sophistication and data mining that they have quite today. But the web was chaotic. It was terrible. There was no like slick design. There was no great, formal artistic beauty in it there.
Wow. Now, wasn't that just a kickback in the old history? GeoCities and Angel Fire and AOL.com. Look at how far we have actually come. Gail, you're muted.
Oh, okay. Do we need to shut off the censored platforms?
I
was
do
going to
believe
add you
we
to
do.
that. Okay, so let's do that real quick, or you can carry on, or maybe Dean can carry on.